Uh, this course on ecology and society is being designed in such a way that we are able to contextualize the debate, the growing, as we all are aware about the ecological crisis which we are facing uh, in almost every countries, and there has been an increasing uh, concern about the ecological problems which we have, and even in the global forum and even at the regional level, these are being addressed. Now, in this course, I would like you to have a look at how we do go about the course, and in a sense the aims and objectives, if not the preamble of the course. Now, this course will primarily focuses on the cultural ecology and the relationship between human and environment relationship, that is by basing on some of the anthropological works which has been done over the past few decades, and mostly why is this ecology and society given so much of importance is because it tries to address and look at how societies tries to connect between ecology and human social, cultural and organizational processes. So, in the course of this, there is an increasing need to contextualize and make a debate trying to find out the deeper meanings of how we humans tries to perceive not just the environment, but the overall relationship that exists between different forms of life system or the ecosystem in general, that is biotic and non-biotic. Now, I will be trying to, as I said, I will be trying to be very specific and tries to look at some of the selected ecological anthropologists works and in this course the focuses will be primarily on human cultures and their ecological environment, and some of the concepts which is widely used in anthropology such as culture, the kind of belief system which people have, for instance the indigenous peoples they have possessed for generations, and how are these knowledge systems to be understood, because unless a deeper understanding of this knowledge system is explored, it is difficult to address some of the problems which are normally encountered, simply because if you look at the debate on development, why is development being questioned today is simply because oftentimes the indigenous peoples are the most vulnerable and the most affected. And why is this so? So, in view of this, one needs to look at the kind of relationship, the kind of connections which these societies have with nature. Now, as Latour says, society and culture or society and nature has to be given much more importance, and it should be understood in order to make sense of the world ecosystem. And moving on, I am trying to now give an explanation about sort of a brief background of how the need to bring in society in the context of the debate which revolved around the ecological crisis. Now, if you look around, there society cannot be afford to be seen in isolation from nature, because it is society which has over generations have evolved over time. If you look at the evolution of human society, beginning from say the food gathering or hunting society, and moving on to the agriculture or feudal society and to industrial society. In this evolution of society, human societies have evolved themselves, and in this evolution, the relationship between human and nature also changes. Now, if we are trying to bring in, for instance, the concept of sustainability, how do we understand, or which part or which section of the society or which period of the society have sustainably used their resources in a more sustainable manner. Now, for all this to have an answer, we will try to look into some of the ecological anthropological works based on case studies in different societies, and try to look at how these traditional ecological knowledge have been used by people over generations. Now, for instance, if a part of society changes, it is tantamount that other parts also will be changing. And for instance, if you take the example, look into institutions such as family, which cannot be afford to be talked and looked into isolation, because the economic, political or religious institutions of a society are more or less interwoven and interrelated. We cannot afford to like see things only from an economic perspective, or for that matter the state or the markets or development way of looking at things, that is the whole idea of utilitarian perspective. Now, we need to bring in other issues such as the socio-cultural and religious dimensions in order to have a much more holistic approach in understanding ecology, and thereby how ecology and societies are interrelated. And moving on, how do we look at society? How do we try to see society in a more holistic way? Society needs to be looked at by taking into the interrelated parts, which actually forms the core of most social theories. Now, for example, if you take the organismic theory of Herbert Spencer, for example, it talks about the interrelationship of the parts of human's body, and based on this we can also contextualize that the manner in which societies evolve over time, it actually grows up. And but one thing which we should differentiate between the organismic understanding of society and what the society as it evolves. The more society grows up, it becomes more and more complex, and this complexity in some way tends to make society as defragmented, and we tends to be more guided by our own self interest, and that's how society is to be differentiated from the human parts of the body by sort of like looking at Herbert Spencer's understanding of organismic theory of society. Now, we should also accept the fact that there is a difference in terms of organizing principles and the way society is organized, and some of these organizations are mostly to determine the needs of the rest of the system. That is, we humans have different needs, different stages of needs. Some of the basic needs are food, shelter, and also as a human being, we have multiple forms of needs, and we tend to prioritize our needs, keeping in mind the basic needs like food, shelter, for instance, and we move on by trying to find deeper meanings of our needs. And perhaps with the ecological crisis or the environmental crisis which we are facing presently, some of the philosophers like Norwegian philosopher like Arne Nest, by trying to conceptualize the term called deep ecology, tries to ask much more deeper meanings of life. That is what he posits in short, that to make sense of the environment or the ecological crisis, one needs to have that self-realization. That is, self-realization is nothing but to engage in questioning deeper meanings of our existence. And of course, I am going to discuss in more details about deep ecology in a future upcoming discussion. Now, as I was talking about what are the kind of needs we human have. Human or mankind is relatively free from biological instincts, drives and predispositions, unlike fellow beings like animals and so on and so forth. Humans rather rely on instincts, that is, we are much more reflexive. By saying so, I am not saying that the animals are not reflexive, but we have instincts which are more or less based on subjectivity, where we can really think about the pros and cons, judge between what is good, what is bad, and much of our behavior is learned through the process of socialization. Now, why is this human socialization important in the context of ecology? Now, for instance, Murray Bookchin talk about social ecology, and in social ecology he also talks about the domination and hierarchy of nature. Now, what he discussed in social ecology was humans through our socialization process tends to have that kind of innate behavior, and this socialization is very important and crucial in order to have a perception and attitudes towards nature. Now, in the course of how society evolved, there is certain sections of groups who tends to dominate the other groups, and oftentimes these dominant groups are a few sections of people, and these few sections of people also replicate in terms of the society and ecological relationship which we have. For instance, if you take the case of a capitalist society, how many sections of the society actually profit from the capitalist system? Marx has talks about those capitalists, that is the bourgeois society, which are actually a handful of them, which happens to exploit the proletariat, those working class, and by exploiting those working class, the bourgeois were in a way making sort of taking advantage or profit by exploiting or at the cost of the working class. Now, similarly, if you take capitalism or Marx's understanding of capitalism as a perspective of looking at the relationship between human and nature or society and nature, it is pretty much evident that it is only few sections of the society which actually exploit or make use of the resources, and at the cost of these few people's interest, there are a lot of people like who have been exploited and have undergoes different kinds of sufferings. For instance, human development induced displacement, like for instance, when a dam is being built, the environmental impact is enormous, and environmental impact needs to be situated in the cultural and economic perspective, because there are communities who have actually been dependent on that geographical space for generations. And when these communities who has been so much dependent on the natural resources in their surrounding or in their environment are being affected and being displaced, we tends to become more vulnerable, and their means of not only their means of livelihood are disrupted, but even their social and cultural, if not religious, attachment to that geographical space or geographical niche is being put into problems. Now, the reason why I am saying and discussing all this is because we humans, as we know, are guided by our certain kinds of instincts, and we also agreed that the behavior which we have is learned through different kind of socialization process, beginning from the infancy and through the institutions of family, and through these socializations our belief, our ideas, our perspective, our outlook is being shaped and designed. Now, why do we need to focus looking at human needs? The reason being that is the kind of crisis which we are facing now globally and even in the regional context are mostly because humans urge and yearn or quest for things beyond the human's basic needs. Now, I quote Mahatma Gandhi when he says that the world has enough resources to meet the needs of mankind, but not sufficient enough to meet the needs of humans' greed and selfishness. Now, in this context, we can perhaps look at what actually is human needs, and are we really focusing on our basic needs, or are we being influenced by certain factors or things happening around us? Perhaps maybe the Western values, or maybe the Western industrial cultures. Are we able to sustain ourselves by looking at these needs? Do we really sustain ourselves with the resources which we have right now with us? Therefore, it is vital for us to be concerned and ask ourselves, as Norwegian philosopher Ernest Ness talks about, by asking deeper meanings. Now, there is also an increasing awareness which arises out of our capacity as a human beings, that is the need which evolve not just around us, a means of livelihood, but the quest to fulfill different other needs. For instance, you can take example of religions, or maybe let us say philosophy, or maybe different forms of paradigm. Now, for instance, if you take the examples of Gautam Buddha, he renounced worldly pleasures and the material possessions of life, and his quest or yearn for him was much more deeper meanings in life, that is nothing but the enlightenment. And as we all know, like the life of Gautam Buddha, he was in exile in the forest for a brief period of years, and then finally he attained that enlightenment. What we can reflect perhaps from Buddha or the Buddhist principles of perceiving nature is, we need to have that caring and nurturance of nature. That is, the resources has to be utilized and exploited to satisfy our basic needs and not beyond it. Now, in the upcoming lectures on this course, we would also be discussing some of the religious philosophy, which actually talks about how in different parts of the world some societies are more close to nature through their religious and cultural beliefs. Now, mostly the Eastern religious traditions are considered to be much more closer to, more harmonious to, in terms of sharing the relationship. And whereas if you take the examples of Lynn White argument of how and why he brought in the Judeo-Christian religions to be in some way responsible for the ecological crisis which we face now. Now, if you looked at Lynn White's argument, which of course I will come up in more details in the upcoming classes, I am just giving you a brief introduction of how religion, in some way, the belief and practices of mankind is also responsible for the kind of problems which we are facing today, the Judeo-Christian religions is considered to be more anthropocentric. By saying anthropocentric, I mean to say that there is a belief which says human being as above all the other ecosystem or nature, and human seems to be the center of this ecosystem, and which in some way is being perceived to have overriding powers or authority to use and exploit the other forms of life, if not ecosystem, both biotic and non-biotic. Now, these kind of perceptions, which are more or less within the frame of anthropocentric, is pretty much being synonymized to the Christian way of perceiving things. I'll cite a few case studies on how, with the conversion to Christianity, mostly in the northeast region, some indigenous communities, and which I am part of this region, have actually encountered the kind of shift in this belief. Many of the indigenous communities of this region have actually converted to Christianity beginning from the later part of the 19th century and mostly in the early 20th century. And in this, if you look at the kind of changes, not just religiously, socially, culturally, but the understanding on the way of perceiving environment has totally changed as a result of this conversion to Christianity, because many of these communities or societies before the pre-conversion to these by these Christian missionaries, they practiced their own traditional religions, mostly animistic, and some even follow the totemism. Now, this kind of indigenous knowledge, if we revisit and looked at, they tends to perceive nature in a more sacred or with reverence at least. Even like looking at the agriculture practices, they tends to follow different kinds of rituals and ceremonies which have been practiced over the past generations, and which actually is seen to be much more in harmonious or sort of a symbiotic relationship which they share with the natural environment which they have inhabited. Now, or maybe if you take the examples of hunting, before any kind of hunting expedition is taken, usually a kind of magic, or if not, certain rituals are practiced so that only those animals which are deserving to sort of be in the part of the game, the souls are being invited. Now, these rituals and ceremonies are nothing but which are being carried out so that there is a balance in the ecosystem, so that other animals, if not maybe another forms of lives, are not being disrupted or affected. So, in a sense, those practices are to be interpreted as much more ecologically balanced and seen to be much more sustainable. Now, why is there an increasing need in terms of focusing on this, the native, the aborigines, if not indigenous, if not tribal societies, is because there is an increasing realization from different practitioners or different bodies, like maybe the scientists, maybe the policy makers, planners, because they feel that science and technology, no doubt, has made our life much more easier, and then whatever we are now in the position is because of science and technology. But science and technology alone is not in a position or able to bring a solution to the kind of ecological problems which we are facing now. Therefore, there is an increasing need that one needs to accommodate and make those communities who have traditional wisdom, traditional knowledge, indigenous knowledge, to be part of the knowledge society. Now, they have increasingly realized that the formal and the informal knowledge has to coexist, and only then, if these two move alongside parallelly, maybe there will be some way of an alternative way of perceiving things, or maybe a solution. Now, let me not go into deep details for the time being, but I am just making a brief overview or understanding of why many of the third world, if not indigenous communities, are slowly given importance, and there is a quest for accommodating them to be part of the sort of development discourse which we are facing now, or which we have perhaps encountered in the post-colonial period. Now, I will just give sort of a brief conceptual introduction of which often is seen to be overlapping, because in general understanding, ecology and environment is seen to be one and the same. Well, which is not the same at all, because it is different. And also how this development and economic growth has to be interlinked in the context of this sustainable development, and how society, nature and culture are interrelated, because we cannot leave one and then discuss something else, or one cannot be understood in isolation, because there is this understanding, if it has to be in a holistic approach, these should be interrelated and then given much more an idea. Now, what then is ecology? Ecology tries to make sense or understand the relationship of living organisms to one another and to their physical environment. That is, how the living organisms are sharing that relationship with the physical space they have inhabited. Now, when I say living organism, it also includes the human, and it is interesting to see how human societies for generations have sort of adapt or tries to sustain themselves with the physical environment they have inhabited. Now, for instance, the climate change, which is hotly talked about and debated, if you try to contextualize uh, this climate change within the human societies. It will be interesting to see how different forms of societies or communities, in terms of their relationship with natural resources, have changed as a result of climate change. And one cannot deny that we humans try to find out different forms of or modes of adaptation in order to make sense of the environment, not just for sustainable or sustenance, but also for different aspects, like the kind of adjustment which is required on our part. And ecology also refers to the interrelations of human beings, flora, fauna, plants and animals, with elements of the natural and the physical environment, that is biotic and non-biotic components. Now, that is the kind of relationship which are shared by all the living and even non-living beings in the physical environment which we are into. Now, what then is environment? Environment refers to the surroundings or the context within which humans, animals, plants and other exist. It is the context and not the relationship, which means ecology has a much more deeper and wider meaning, and we humans live in close interaction with this natural environment that has not only shaped our cultural identity, but our value systems as well as economic well-being. Now, you can pick any communities which are not being influenced by their environment, may it be their identity, or maybe the food cultures, food habits, or maybe the kind of attires which we normally put on. Now, for example, we know that the North Pole, where the Eskimos lived, is considered to be pretty cold, and they also find a way to adapt to this kind of cold climate. And similarly, in many tropical countries or maybe who are close to the equatorial region, they have adapt themselves and find their own way of living with the weather and the climatic conditions or environment which they have into, and which also save not only their cultural identity and values, but also their economic well-being. Now, for instance, by and again I will give an examples of indigenous communities in the Northeast India region, because this is where I have pursued some of my doctoral research, and I'll time and again try to cite an examples of these communities. Now, if you look at the communities here, they have been practicing this shifting cultivation, which is also locally known as zooming. Now, zooming to an outsiders might be just an agriculture if not economic practices, but there are communities who have not only rituals and ceremonies around it, but zooming to them has become not just a means of sustenance, but a way of life, which is much more beyond just a mere economic well-being, right. Now, by saying so, these economic practices also in some way influences not just the cultural and social practices, but also their way of life. Now, these are something which we need to look at how environment also tries to influence or have far-reaching impact not only our outward identity, but the inner self, that is a way of perceiving or looking at things, and the way in which we make sense of what we usually encounter in our life, right. Now, these close interactions which is normally shared by the natural environment and human has to be contextualized in that case. Now, we all know what ecology and what environment is. Now, if we pose a questions that can we actually survive or live without this environment, because most often times we all know that we have reached a point where we have sort of disturb or cause a lots of problems to the environment, and there can be possibilities of debating of surviving without this environment, maybe virtually, not in reality, because if you looked at some of the science and the films on science and fiction, for example, the movies of this Avatar, which was released in 2012, you can actually witness how humans tries to create sort of a virtual world where the humans in the ecosystems are to adapt or to survive even. Now, can we really think of surviving without the environment, which is something is pretty much disturbing, and we cannot really in a true sense afford to think of surviving without this environment. Now, what is this context of environment? Why is it so much vital or important for our not just well-being and existence? Because this environment, in association with learning and experience, often refers to the sum of outside influence of the organism that is distinguished from the inherited potential that together influence human behavior and development. Now, as we said, environment has to some extent not only shapes our minds and values, but it has a deep impact on the human behavior. Now, how do we actually relate to the current this system of fragility? We have often come across a term called ecosystem fragility, right? Now, why is this a problem for us? Because it tends to threaten not just the human technology and development as a result of industrial revolution, and with the increasing population of human beings. Now, these factors in a way has posed a threat to the ecosystem and which becomes a fragile landscape whatever we have inhabit. Now, when does this fragility of ecosystem usually happens? When there is more of a demand and there is a shortage in supply. For instance, say take the example of the carrying capacity of a particular geographical area. If that area or maybe an agricultural land is not able to really meet the requirements or not able to produce what is the desired output, simply then there is an imbalance in this supply and demand, or demand and supply, and vice versa. Now, these are some of the ecosystem fragility which is being encountered in the past few decades, right? You can take examples of not just land and forest, you can also take the cases of the sea, marine, and different forms of water bodies, right? Now, how do we try to link and make sense of this, the animate and inanimate world, that is the living and non-livings? Because sometimes we are under the perception that we don't really the inanimate or non-livings as if it doesn't really matters for us, and it oftentimes it is being perceived to be having a limitless, in the sense it can be exploited to any extent simply because it is inexhaustible. Now, how does one look at this two relationship, that is the animate and inanimate? By saying animate, we mean to say with the plants and animals, which of course includes the humans as well, and the inanimate, those objects, machines, and the physical world around us, right? For instance, from universalist or market point of view, if a mining is being carried out, it sees no problems in mining, because they are in a way extracting resources which has more of a value. Now, how do we interpret and make sense of this value? The value has to be not just seen from utilitarian perspective, or it has to be rather seen from a more intrinsic way as well. Because if we tend to see it merely from a utilitarian value, we will ignore or missed out the real meanings of what is embedded in these inanimate objects. Now, if we tries to like make sense of the animate and inanimate things, one needs to tries to contextualize and make sense of what is the relationship usually being shared by these two entities. Now, the next question is, the first question which we ask ourselves is, can we survive without the environment? Now, the second question is, can we actually control the environment? Because we have encountered environmental disasters like maybe earthquakes, floods, industrial accidents, and which actually highlight that the animation of inanimate matter. And do we really have the expertise or the skills to actually control all this environmental disaster? because we have come across different disasters, and which actually have a toll on the human society. But the question is, are we willing to seek for a deeper meanings, or if not, see things beyond just the mere utilitarian values. Now, I will try to look at how the concepts or these levels of study will be looked into. Much before that, as I said, we often try to look into the whole ecosystem from a very narrow approach, that is which are guided by more market oriented, and which often is being sponsored by the state, and the development projects which we normally follow is mostly driven by the so called capitalist economy. Now, do we think that this sort of capitalist economy is sustainable? Do we need to look beyond a mere capitalist economy? For instance, if you looked at some of the problems which are being encountered by the indigenous communities, for instance, when the development projects are normally being initiated, it has sort of a wider implications, if not impact, on these vulnerable communities, because for them the animate and inanimate is more or less the same, and they cannot really distinguish between these two entities as separate bodies, because they have been for generations been closely associated and live with this environment. Now, as I have been saying, can these people afford to live out of this environment, and which has to be understood in the context of this debate, or maybe in the debate of environment versus development. And if development has to be part of the discourse, will these practices be seen as sustainable?